All right, let's do this. Ladies and gentlemen, it's finally here. This footage has been a very long time coming, but I finally present to you the video of my very first muskie ever. Now, I know there's going to be some of you who want to skip ahead to the actual fish catch, and that's totally fine, but my reaction to catching this fish is pretty intense, and I think it's only fair that I sit down and give you the backstory behind this fish and what it's meant to me before I get into the actual footage of the cast, of the hook set, of the net job release, the whole deal. So if you guys have a few minutes, I want to sit down and actually share with you the story of my first muskie. So this whole muskie fishing thing started when I was, I think, 10 years old, and I went to the library and I picked up this book called Musky Attack by G.M. Moore. And after finishing this book, I became immediately infatuated with the idea of catching one of the biggest, definitely the baddest fish in North American freshwater. And so I went to the local tackle shop, I picked up a beat up Shimano Calcutta, I went to Gander Mountain, I picked up just a cheap catfish rod, got a couple of baits, and I started my journey as a muskie hunter. And that led into a years-long saga of fishing all over the state of Minnesota trying to catch a muskie. And most of that fishing was from shore, but even in my shore fishing excursions, I fished some of the most well-known bodies of water in Minnesota for muskie fishing. I'm talking the big names like Lake Vermilion, Mille Lacs. I fished Lake Bemidji at St. Louis River. I fished all these different water bodies trying to catch a muskie. And for the first couple years, I definitely struck out. Like, I didn't see a muskie. Like, you know, sometimes I'd bring back a sucker minnow that had tooth marks, or I would hear secondhand from a person at the boat launch saying, hey, yeah, I saw a muskie over here just now. So yeah, for the first couple years, I definitely struck out when it came to muskie fishing, and kind of the big turning point for me was meeting this gentleman at church named Joe Grupa. And guys, Joe is an absolute stick when it comes to muskie fishing. He knows the ins and the outs. He's fished Canada, Minnesota, Wisconsin. He fishes tournaments. He has a YouTube channel. I will leave some of his old videos linked down below. Full Spectrum Outdoors. This dude is an absolute beast. And thank goodness for me that Joe was willing to take me under his wing and show me the ins and the outs of muskie fishing and how to chase these incredible fish. Joe was the one who taught me the fine details of fishing effectively, making the most out of every cast. He taught me how to sharpen hooks. He taught me the differences of, you know, specific models of baits and when to throw them and how to throw them. But most importantly, he taught me how to fix my figure eights. Because guys, when I first started muskie fishing, my figure eights were terrible. Like, they were too tight, they were too flip-floppy. I wasn't giving fish time to really come in and check the bait out and follow it. So Joe took me under his wing, and he got the chance to definitely educate me in muskie fishing, and I'm so thankful for that. After I started talking with Joe and hanging out with Joe, I started seeing more muskies. Probably most infamously is the muskie follow beneath the Island Lake Dam. I got some chest mount GoPro footage of that, and that video went absolutely viral last year. I had that follow. I had different follows from that area. I went muskie fishing with Joe on the St. Louis River, and I contacted a muskie on a topwater. I had different follows there. I think I actually lost another muskie on a topwater now that I think about it. So I started contacting fish and started seeing fish, but I was still striking out. And that leads me to my last muskie trip last summer. Joe kind of took me aside and he's like, dude, you're heading off to college this fall. Summer's coming to a close. Why don't we go to this one lake way up north in northern Minnesota, and we're gonna get you a muskie. And I'm at this point, this is 8 years of chasing muskies without anything to show for it. Like, I fished hard. Like, at this point, I had also upgraded to a John boat. I was gifted a John boat by my buddy Joel. Thank you so much, Joel, for that, by the way. And I started muskie fishing for my John boat and touring different lakes in the Duluth, Minnesota area in that thing. And again, getting more experience in muskie fishing, but still not seeing anything. So I'd upgraded from shore fishing to boat fishing, and I still wasn't seeing a fish. And so I was definitely getting very discouraged at this point. And Joe's like, no, dude, we're gonna give it one last trip. We're gonna go north, we're gonna go to this lake, and we're gonna get you a muskie. And so that leads us to July 31st, 2022. Joe and I took his boat and we traveled north in Minnesota to a lake that shall not be named, and we started fishing. And right away in the day, we head out from the launch and we find this reef that comes up to about, I think it topped out at 4 or 5 feet, and it was surrounded by 20 on the sides. And in the first 10 minutes of fishing, Joe moved a fish. Like a nice fish that we guessed was probably mid-30s to 40s, came up and followed. I think he had a bucktail on, and then sank back down, and we're like, dude, this lake is loaded. Like, it's gonna be a good day of fishing. So we marked that spot on his GPS. We went to different spots in the lake. I think we had another follower or two, but as the day started to go on, the sun started to rise, we weren't really seeing too much. We fished for a couple more hours, and then we're like, okay, we're starting to get to later on in the trip. There's a storm coming. We got to make the most of it. Let's head back to this fish that we moved and see what we can do. And at this point in the day, I had thrown different stuff. I had thrown a bucktail, I had thrown a bulldog, I had thrown a twitch bait. I think it was like a phantom jake I had tried for a few casts, and nothing was really happening. And so I dug through Joe's tackle box and I pulled out this Rapala Super Shad Rap in a gold shiner color. And this lure actually, I'll talk more about this lure later actually. So I picked up this crankbait, this gold crankbait, and we head back to this reef. And that is when the magic happened. And so now I'm gonna roll this footage. Oh. Yep, I'm doing it. Yeah, got him! Yes! Holy cow! Let's go, dude! Whoa!
Yeah, baby!
Dude!
That was sick!
Yes! Thank you, God! Holy cow! Right on the hang, dude!
Dude!
Holy smokes!
You almost got off two in the net. Look where that bait is.
Dude!
Look where that bait is.
Oh, you rimmed him!
I wasn't letting him go.
Oh my word! Dude!
That made it worth it right there, man. Wow. Here, I don't, he's like, you wanna,
oh my word.
you want to take that bait out of it?
Yeah.
And then we'll get him in the water a little more.
Okay. Shaking, dude.
Dude, you should be. That was sick.
I'm shaking.
First muskie is a figure 8 muskie on a crankbait.
I'm shaking, dude.
That was quite the call on the shad wrap. Okay. Just take a breath. He's fine.
Holy smokes.
That's a good one. That's like 34.
Dude.
Chunky, man. That's a beautiful fish. Nah, he's like 30. Okay. It's your first muskie.
8 years, dude.
I told you.
8 years. Dude, like it's not even registering. Like that.
Dude, soak it in, man. He's fine. You just gotta soak it in. Enjoy the moment.
On the 8, like second turn in, like I'll have to go back and watch.
He like swiped at it and like, dude, keep it going. And then he came up and just hammered. You did that perfect. You did that so perfect.
There we go. Holy smokes! Dude, 8 years for this fish. Came in hot on the crank, took a swipe at it, missed. Another turn in, hit it on the left, hang time, T-boned it. 8 years for this fish. Thank you, God, so much. Holy smokes. Let's see where he goes. Let's touching tail. 33 and a half. First musky effort. Oh, no.
That's good.
Okay.
That's a spunky fish.
Yeah, super. Super. Look at that.
Yeah, there you go. Put it on its side quick. There you go.
Okay. There he goes. Big buddy. Big buddy. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that guy, dude.
There
he goes. We did it! We freaking did it! Holy smokes, that happened! That happened! Oh my word! I'm still shaky.
Dude, good. That's what you wait for. That's why we musky fish right here.
Honestly.
We wait and work so hard for that, and that's what you work for.
Man, dude.
Catch muskies without key.
Dude, let's go! First muskie ever.
I'm glad we made this trip.
Dude, like that's
right there.
That's what we wanted. That was everything we wanted.
You should check those pics. I'm gonna get it. Dude, that was the spot, man.
Let's go. Based. So that's it, guys. That is the footage of my very first muskie ever. And I took a couple minutes to wind this video up, but now I'm going to take a couple to wind it back down. I want to talk about a couple things before I close this out. So, first of all, I said it when the fish hit the net, and I will say it again, all glory is given to God in this one. I feel so blessed by him to have caught this fish, to have had that experience, to have shared that moment with Joe, who kind of, like I said before, definitely took me by the hand and got to teach me in the ways of muskie fishing. So that was super cool. I'm so beyond thankful to have finally caught that fish, as you guys can obviously tell in the footage. Second thing, you guys heard me utter the following statement right when the fish hit the bag. Dude, look at that fish. Oh, you rimmed him. And that was not meant to be an accusation against Joe. Joe did everything perfectly in netting that fish. The problem was that when I went to set the hook on that fish, at some point during the day, I bumped the side of my reel and my drag had loosened. And you guys can actually, if you go back and watch the hook set, you can hear the braids slip through the guides of my rod as I try to drive that hook home. And so I didn't get the hook set that I wanted, and that's why the lure fell out of the fish's mouth right when he got in the bag. So again, that wasn't Joe's fault. That was kind of my fault for not being on top of my reel and not making sure everything was on the up and up. Regardless, everything worked out perfectly, as you guys saw. So no harm, no foul. You guys heard me mention before I started playing that footage that the Rapala Super Shad Rap kind of has special significance for me, and it being the lure that I caught my first muskie on, because the Rapala Super Shad Rap is actually the very first muskie lure that I bought. It wasn't obviously that gold one that I stole from Joe, it was this guy right here, this red and white one that I still obviously own to this day. So to have caught my first muskie on essentially my first muskie lure is pretty sweet. And before I go, I know there's gonna be some of you watching that are gonna look at that footage, and you might go in the comments section being like, well, Mike, 33 and a half, that's a pretty small muskie. And you know what? You're right, and I don't care. Because for a couple years, I had the number 50 in my head, like kind of all muskie guys do. Like, dude, my first muskie, it's gonna be a 50-incher, it's gonna be epic, you know, big fish, big fish, big fish. And towards the 7th and 8th year of muskie fishing, I kind of just calmed down and realized, like, dude, I'll take any muskie at this point. Any muskie is gonna be cool. And again, what meant more to me was to finally just achieve success after 8 years of pouring into the sport and logging hours and hours and thousands of casts, to finally find success after such a long time. And also, like I said too, to actually catch that fish with Joe, who taught me how to muskie fish. That part was super sweet. So in the end, I don't care that the fish is that small. 33 and a half to me, still a good muskie, great first muskie. To have caught him in the figure 8 especially was super cool to see. And honestly, another reason why I don't really care that the fish was only 33 and a half is because I have a video coming out, hopefully in the very near future, detailing a trip that Joe and I took to Eagle Lake, Ontario, Canada, just this last summer, a few weeks ago, muskie fishing. And we spent 6 days in the Canadian wilderness chasing muskies. And needless to say, I came back from that trip with an absolutely shattered PB muskie. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that footage. For now, my name is Michael Wallendorf. You guys have watched MN Mike Outdoors. Thank you guys so much for sticking through this video. If you appreciated it, make sure to give it a like. Make sure to subscribe if you have not already. And make sure you guys take care. Head out in the water. Go catch yourself a giant fish. Jesus saves y'all.